Good, good morning, brand DIYers. Sorry, frog in my throat. It is Monday morning, a gorgeous Monday morning here in Victoria, BC, and it has been way too long. I have been immersed in a massive project, which is all very exciting. But my love for doing these live streams every day has had to be parked because I've just been so busy. So if you're watching Brand DIY, watching this space, you'll see that I've got 5 great topics lined up for this week. Super stoked to be back on the air talking to you and hopefully giving a little help to all the entrepreneurs and the brand DIYers out there who are making a difference. So let's get talking about today's topic. I want to talk to you about creating a soulful brand, a brand with soul. So let me explain exactly what that is. Let's start with a word, icon. The definition of icon is a person or a thing regarded as a representative symbol, or something that's worth veneration, that is worth praising. Now, a brand represents your company, right? So it is a representative symbol. But that second part, is it worthy of veneration? Is it something that when people see it, they go, wow, I love that. I really, really like that a lot. Most brands aren't. Most are just kind of there. They're just kind of filling in space. If they went away tomorrow, people would just go, eh. In fact, they conduct studies every few years on what people actually think of brands. And the studies are the same every year, no big surprise. They find that about 80% of brands, if they went away tomorrow, most people wouldn't even notice. Not even notice. That's not like saying, oh, whatever. It's not even notice. So that shows you that the bar is fairly low when it comes to creating brands that are memorable, that are worth admiration. Not a lot of us are very good at doing that. But a few brands do manage to break through and become much, much more. They capture the human spirit. They awaken a feeling in us. Those are brands that in some shape or form warrant a bit of veneration, or at least a tip of the hat and an approving thumbs up and nod. So how do you get to be a brand that is deserving veneration? Well, a brand's symbolic meaning, what it stands for, originates with its underlying purpose. Purpose, like veneration, is a loaded word. Purpose. It's a very human thing. It goes beyond buying something just because it does a specific job. Purpose is about getting us as humans or consumers a bit closer to personal fulfillment. What's your purpose in life? My purpose is to lead a decent life. What is that canned bologna's purpose in life? Don't know. It's hard to figure out what a brand's purpose is, let alone to get that purpose to the point of venerable, worth veneration. If you look at brand purpose as 3 circles that intersect like a Venn diagram, they could be, first circle, the surrounding social tension that creates a specific need. That is, what the world is going through at this moment that creates this need for a product that does a specific thing. Almost like if the Knights of the Temple in the Middle Ages were a product, you'd say the need was the feeling that Christianity was being invaded. So all these people said, we need somebody to protect us. Who's going to protect us? Well, the Knights Templar came in and said, we will protect you. Ta-da! I mean, it was based on a bit of hogwash, but that was the social tension that was happening in the day. Today we feel that. What's the social tension that we have? COVID. There is a tension. What will the future hold? What will become of us all? Are we going back to school? Are we going back to work? Will I be able to make a living? Am I going to get sick? All these things that are creating all this tension in our world. That's the first circle. Second circle, what the brand actually does. So let's go back to the Knights Templar in the Middle Ages. There's a social tension. People say, we need something to protect us. The Knights Templar said, we, knights, wearing these white tunics with red crosses on them, we will protect you because we are badass knights. And so we will go off and slay the infidel. Fast forward to COVID. You create a type of personal protective device that says, with this personal protective device, you will be safe from the COVID virus. Well, that's something that the brand actually does. It's in its DNA. It's the second circle. The third circle, what specific problem, human problem, the brand solves? Well, back in the Middle Ages, with the Knights Templar, with the Crusades, the actual specific problem that the Knights solved was one of enrichment. Europe needed to be richer. Europe needed to be secure. They needed economic strongholds in the Holy Land. And so they created this crusade ordered by the Pope in order to go down and conquer the infidel and, oh, by the way, take all their land. So that was a real specific problem that those knights could solve. It was in their DNA. Fast forward to the personal protective device. A specific problem that a brand could solve, a personal protective device, is it will eliminate droplets that have COVID from infecting you. That is a real human problem that that brand solves. So the surrounding social tension, what's going on in the world, what the brand actually does, second circle, and what specific problem the brand solves, third circle. You get all those three circles together and intersecting, and you get a very powerful brand. When you get it really, really right, you get a brand that almost feels like it's a bit human. Like you know that brand, like it has emotions. That if you met that brand in an elevator or at a barbecue, you'd like that brand, right? Now, when I think of a brand like this, I usually go to four different brands that really caught it for me. They are Volkswagen, The Economist, Nike, and Apple. And the fact that I have four brands, and I had a hard time thinking of more, even though I could think of more, but I had a hard time thinking of more than four, should tell you that this is actually a pretty darn hard thing to do. And if we don't nail it, well, we're in good company. A lot of us don't nail it. If, however, you nail it, what you do, you create a brand that actually has a tinge of humanity to it. And that's what I call a brand with soul. A soul, not like soul music, even though that would be cool too, but a soul, something that animates the brand from inside, that's intangible and mysterious. And that is that connection to humanity that the brand has, where it becomes more than a utilitarian product fulfilling a purpose. It becomes something that has this intangible humanity inside it, where we go, I like that brand. I want to be in a party with that brand. So today, I'm not going to talk about Volkswagen, The Economist, or Apple, but I am going to talk to you about the Nike story. Because Nike wasn't always a brand with soul. Nike started out, much like our own brands, as a brand doing, well, decent work, but not remarkable work. So let's paint the picture here. It was 1987. Nike had just done an amazing commercial called Revolution. And that Revolution commercial was all about athletes doing what athletes do, which is being awesome, doing slam dunks, running really fast, catching touchdown passes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially the sort of standard fare athletic shoe company ad where it's just athletes being really, really cool and aspirational. So they had just done a great job. However, there was a recession happening in 1987. Nike had just laid off 20% of its workforce. Reebok, the competitor, had just introduced an entirely new category of shoe. Not just a new type of shoe, a new category called aerobics shoes. And if you're old enough to remember what 1987 was like when they introduced those shoes, it was a big, big deal. Aerobics hadn't existed before then. Aerobics classes, Olivia Newton-John, Let's Get Physical, that stuff wasn't around. That didn't even exist. It became because of companies like Reebok. Nike's ad agency, Wieden & Kennedy, one of the most famous ad agencies in the world, had just presented a bunch of ads that fell flat as a pancake. So, dark times. Dark, dark times for Nike. They were having their lunch eaten by Reebok. There was a recession happening. They had just laid off a ton of their workers. Their ad agency had fallen through. They hadn't delivered. So what were they going to do? At this point, the sales and insights people and marketing people at Nike pulled back, and they took a look at the world. Remember, we talked about the first element of a soulful brand. What social tension is happening in the world? So there was a huge social tension happening at that time. The US, as I mentioned, was going through a massive recession. Obesity at the same time was on the rise. And these two things are actually connected, because the more people are poor, the less high quality food they can eat, the more they work, or the less that they can exercise, the more depressed they are. All these things hang together. And one great sort of example of this was that US schools had cut back dramatically on phys ed budgets. That means a lot of kids who need to get out and get their mojo out and leave it all on the school playing field didn't get to. So they were just eating a lot, getting fatter, not being healthy. Nike realized that they needed to somehow represent more than just aspirational shoes. They couldn't be Michael Jordan's shoes. They had to touch a chord with every man and every woman and every kid. They needed to make a difference in people's lives. So now I've got the social tension, the recession, Nike getting their lunch eaten, obesity on the rise, school phys ed programs getting cut back. That's social tension. A very real problem that people are facing, the rise in obesity, depression, diabetes, things like that. The third circle, what does the brand do best? They create shoes and gear that helps people become better athletes. And this is interesting because if you've heard Nike's sort of mission statement, which is to enable authentic athletic performance, I never quite understood that until I researched this, because I thought it always meant to make everyone into like a rock star athlete. And I thought that's a bit elitist. But if you think about the word authentic, authentic is a term that's very much in use today. And what it means is not to be polished and shiny or the best. What it means is to be real, authentic, to be yourself. And that's where the brand went back to Nike's founder, Bill Bowerman, who was an athletics, a track coach who invented Nike shoes. And he said famously that everybody has a body, and therefore everyone is a potential athlete. Think about that. Everyone can be an athlete because, well, we all have bodies. How simple. So this awareness that the brand needed to help people in a difficult time, social tension, help them with shoes and products, that's what Nike did, and help them get energized again and solve core issues like obesity, that is the very real problem people are feeling, was the underlying thought that came out as Nike's promise of authentic athletic performance. Not high performance, not pro athlete performance, but authentic, you and me. And the way this came out was awesome. I'm going to link in the show notes the first commercial that Nike did. And it used a runner, not a star runner, an 80-year-old runner named Walter Stack. And he was running across the Golden Gate Bridge. And trust me, he wasn't going fast. He wasn't a rock star. He was running across the Golden Gate Bridge, shuffling along, people honking their horn at him, waving at them. And you hear the inner monologue in his head. And he says that he runs 10 miles every day. And people ask him how, with all that running, he keeps his teeth from clattering, snapping together. And he says that he beats that problem by keeping them in a jar at home. And he has a little smile as he's running, as he thinks that thought. A brilliant commercial. And it perfectly captures that anybody, even an 80-year-old with false teeth, can be an athlete. You don't need to be a rock star. So again, social tension that needs to be resolved. An innate ability in the product that can solve a problem. And third, a real personal problem that all of us experience. You get all three of those together, and you have the foundation of a brand that transcends being utilitarian. In fact, if you're lucky, you'll actually have a brand that has a glimmer of that mysterious thing called soul. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope you have a great Monday. I hope this is a great thought-provoking piece and you pass it along to all your friends. Have a great day, and we will see each other again tomorrow morning. Take care.